Okay, so we are live. Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here today, Kate. So, Kate, you are the owner and CEO of the Tare shop.
Indeed.
And we're really excited to start this episode today, first of all, because we had some technical glitches, not glitches, but we had a transition. This is our first time recording this on YouTube instead of Instagram. This clips of this episode will be available on Instagram. So, however, the full episodes now are here on YouTube, and we're really excited to have this transition occur because it means, first of all, we can just talk ad nauseum, even though we'll probably still keep these episodes to an hour, but we also just want to be able to give people the opportunity to watch this in full length. And I think because of things changing up with Instagram and IGTV, we switched over so that we could continue to give you this content. But we're back after a couple months hiatus with Sips with SITTI. And so I wanted to say we're talking today about how to make a sustainable household, or how to make your household more sustainable, right? So there's really no, and Kate, you can talk to us a little bit about this, but there's really no like definition of a sustainable household. And so so like we want to really get an idea from you as kind of our sustainability guru, what your journey was first, creating the Tare shop, but also in your whole journey of sustainability, and just talk to us a little bit about like what inspired you to build this business. So yeah, I'll let you take it away.
Cool. Yeah. So I grew up in Toronto and I moved to Nova Scotia, where I am right now, in Halifax on the east coast of Canada, in 2011 to go to university at Dalhousie. And I studied sustainability, environmental science, and marine bio. And my degree was fantastic. I learned a lot and definitely really enjoyed my time and everything that I learned. But it felt like I spent 5 years just studying all of the ways in which we are harming the planet, and there wasn't much, if any, focus on like the incredible work that has been happening, or like actionable things that you can do to go to make a difference. So after graduating, I was pretty overwhelmed and depressed with the state of the world, and I had no idea what I could do as an individual to make a difference. And so after graduating, I started a website that's no longer running, called Our Positive Planet. And really like started it as for my mental health. When all I hear is the doom and gloom, I just want to like turn Netflix on and ignore everything and just like live in my own safe space bubble. Where when I read about other people doing inspiring things, that's what really inspires me. So I started Our Positive Planet in like 2016, I think, as a platform to share environmental success stories to inspire action. And that's kind of how I fell into the zero waste movement, and started making steps in my own life to reduce my waste. And at the time in Halifax, it was really, really hard. There was nowhere that made it accessible, easy, and affordable. And I was seasonally employed after graduating. I taught sailing in the summers and then was largely unemployed in the off season. So I had a lot of free time to run around to a bunch of different stores to try to find different things without packaging. And I spent a lot of time doing it, which isn't sustainable if you have a job,
Yeah.
or family,
well,
or other responsibilities.
I think a lot of people run into this challenge, right? Which is they want to be more sustainable, but the time it takes to kind of make that switch or to find those more sustainable products or zero waste products, you're going to like 5 different places, you know? And yeah, I mean, if you're working full time, or a full time anything, it's hard.
Yeah, totally. So that's kind of how I was like, I want a package-free store, a zero-waste store. And so I spent a year thinking about the business, wanting it. I was writing a business plan and then kept putting it down because I was like, I didn't go to business school. I don't know how to business. Who the heck do I think I am to start a business? But within that year, talked to a lot of other business owners, and a lot of them also said that they didn't go to business school. And I was like, oh, opening a business you don't need a prerequisite to opening a business isn't going to business school. So eventually flipped that from like, who do I think I am, to why not me? I'm going to try this. So we announced the business in January of 2018 with the intention of opening in the fall of that year. And we opened our first location October 3rd of 2018 and now have 2 locations.
That's incredible. And how old were you when you started?
I think I was 24 or 5. I was probably 25 by the time the first store opened, but 24 when I was like going to get loans. And I started doing pop-ups before we had our brick and mortar, just to help like spread awareness and like talk to customers and start to meet the people that we'd be serving.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I think it's really important for people to hear about the fact that starting a business, right? You don't necessarily need a business degree. And there are people who have business degrees who aren't necessarily great at running a business, right?
It's a special skill set being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And I really think that if there's anybody out there listening to this, it really is important. That's an important piece of advice, regardless of whether you're trying to make a more sustainable home or not. But if you're really passionate about something and want to pursue it, I mean, it's really resilience and just incredible determination.
A lot of determination, a lot of grit, a lot of
grit. Yeah. A lot of grit, a lot of tears.
And I feel like that's so true. Like talking to all of our suppliers, like most of them started their business because they wanted something better and they wanted something different for their families and their lives. So through that, created a business, whether it was making candles or body care products, making cheese, anything. All of our suppliers started their business because they wanted better.
Right. I think that also similarly for SITTI was our experience, of course. I mean, for us, it was wanting something better for our family, being our community. And for them, it was them wanting something better for their families, right? I think businesses are often misconstrued as like someone creates a business to just make money or to like make a huge profit, and it's not that business isn't part of like profit isn't part of business and running a business. It's integral to it, but it's also it's much more than that. I think that there are these stories out there of, oh, this entrepreneur made, multiple millions of dollars selling, their company and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, but really when it comes down to it, most of these small businesses are about people who want to change their lives a little bit and can't find something else out there that's serving their needs and their purpose.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. Yeah, we don't for us, we don't measure success. Obviously, we know where we stand financially and how much money we need to be bringing in. But for us, success is the impact that we can have.
Yeah, totally. So tell us a little bit about, okay, you obviously had this real passion for developing like a zero waste approach to life, right? And as we were saying, not everybody can do that, but I'm curious to hear what are some of the experiences you've had with customers or even yourself about how people have been able to start moving the needle in that direction for themselves. And again, caveating here that everybody's lifestyle is different, everybody's needs are different, and we can talk more about that in a minute. But what are some of the things that you've seen people able to implement in their own lives to start out?
Yeah, I think, there's no, as we said at the beginning, there's no one size fits all solution to sustainability. That's just unrealistic for me to say, like, Jackie, you need to do X, Y, Z. Otherwise, like, you're not an eco-friendly household. Because if you don't have those options available to you, you obviously can't do it. So we definitely put a lot of focus on everybody can just do what they can, where they can. That might change throughout your life as you get kids or kids move out or you move cities, whatever it is, your life will go through changes, and that's okay too. But I think one of the we're just so disconnected from our waste system as we are disconnected from our food system and everything. We're so disconnected as a society. So in terms of our waste, when we throw something out, you don't think about it again. All of our garbage bins are for the most part, a solid color with a lid on it. So you like really out of sight, out of mind, you throw it out and it doesn't come back to you ever again. But the waste goes somewhere. So one of the things that I always suggest to folks if they're starting out, but don't even know what to do, it's overwhelming to look in your pantry or your bathroom or whatever room and just be like, there's like so much plastic, or I don't even know where to start. So in order to reconnect with our waste, I love suggesting people record their waste. So do a waste audit for a month or a week. Record, you can just do your garbage, you can just do your recycling, you can just do your compost, you can do all of it or the combination, but record what you're throwing out. And then after a week or a month, however long you decide to track your waste for, you'll have a really, really clear picture of what you create. And from there, you're like, oh, okay, I saw like 15 Starbucks cups. Like I'm going to bring my own travel mug to get my drink or make my coffee at home. So by understanding the waste that you're creating, you can make informed decisions and something that is attainable and sustainable for you, and sustainable in the sense of like longevity of you making those changes.
That's cool. Yeah, I never thought of that. I mean, we audit things all the time, right? We're like, oh, let's audit this before we make any changes to it. But you know, did you do this with yourself at all, or?
So the approach that I took is definitely not one that I would recommend to people. It was definitely like very mentally unhealthy. I basically, like as I ran out of things, replaced things, but went like zero waste, hard and fast.
Wow.
I was really hard on myself and really like mean to myself. So if I taught sailing, so parents would sometimes like bring me coffee because that's a nice thing to do for your kid's sailing coach. Right. But if I took the cup, I would get so mad at myself. I'd be so hard on myself. If anything that I did that I made a mistake, I would just get I would just be so hard on myself. So that's not healthy either. So what I would recommend to people is like make small changes, one or two at a time, and then as they become habit, then you can build on those. So like one of the first changes that I made, and this was like in university, is I didn't get coffee or tea unless I had like my reusable cup or mug. You're doing this for you. So you have to like make commitments to yourself. You're the only one who is in charge of you. So make changes and commitments to yourself. And again, like if these change as your priorities or lifestyle changes, like that's okay to reassess and evaluate.
Yeah. Yeah. My sister actually did that. She stopped using cups at the coffee shop because her and I both are obsessive coffee drinkers. And she would start taking, she would start taking this, reusable mug with her. And I actually kind of took a cue from her because I really never thought about it when I was in college. And then even after college, I lived above a coffee shop too. And I felt like I was living in some TV show where I would like walk down every morning and get my coffee. And like, it was just part of my routine, like, say hi to all these people. And they, they always just like handed you the coffee cup. And there was something about like holding the coffee cup that felt I was like, oh, this just feels so good. It's just it's like, it's almost this weird precursor to the caffeine jolt you get. It's like getting the coffee cup in your hand. It's, but yeah, I noticed my sister was doing this when I went to visit her one time. And I was like, it's so easy, I just switch it out. And then, you just bring it down with you. They take care of it for you. And sometimes they'll clean it out for you. They'll like steam it for you before they put anything in it. So it's like, hey, they clean it for you and they fill it up with coffee. So why not? Yeah. But you were saying like kind of as you're doing this audit, take note of the things that you're throwing in the garbage. And so, I think if there are some people out there might say to themselves, okay, well, you know, what about recycling? What does recycling do? And I'm always really interested to hear, you know, there's a lot of misconceptions about what recycling is able to accomplish and what it's not able to accomplish. And I'm curious what your take is on it, and where it really goes at the end of the day, or what really happens to it.
Yeah. So like, in my opinion, recycling is like, we're talking about plastic recycling here. So
Okay.
we, like, in our environmental education, like pretty much the extent of my environmental education as a kid was like, if you recycle, you are eco-friendly, and that's like all you need to do to be like a conscious citizen. And recycling is good, and it definitely needs to continue. However, like, I used to think that you would send like a plastic water bottle to the recycling facility, it would get cleaned up or spiffed up, whatever, and come back out a plastic water bottle. But that's not actually what happens. It gets degraded in quality until it's no longer usable. So again, we need to recycle the plastics that are in our system. But also, only 9% of the plastic that we put in our plastic recycling that the municipality collects actually gets recycled. So 91% of it is actually ending up in landfill.
Oh, wow.
And this is for a few reasons. Recycling has to be cleaned out, and a lot of people are lazy. Just take your milk bag, whatever it is, and put it in the recycling bin without actually washing it or cleaning it, rinsing it. So anything that's contaminated just gets chucked out. There also has to be a market for the item. So if something is recyclable in your municipality, but there's actually no market for it, it does just go to the landfill as well. And recycling is also really, really energy efficient, inefficient. It takes a lot of energy and money and time to recycle things. So it's definitely a thing that we need to keep doing with the plastic on the planet. But we need to stop making products from plastic. And for manufacturers, it's often cheaper for them to make products out of virgin plastic, so new plastic, than it is for them to make something out of recycled plastic.
So when we do use plastic, and a lot of times, and I think there's more often now, there are discussions around plastic, microplastics. What does that do you know, and I don't know if you know this, but I'm assuming you do. What happens when we use plastics in food, like food products, for instance? So say we have a plastic cup and we're drinking out of this plastic cup. How does that impact our bodies too?
Yeah, I definitely, like, that's one part of the issue that I haven't studied too much, but the plastics can like leach out of the material and into the food or into what's happening, what the product is that you have. And another thing is, I used to see, I don't know if you've ever seen those infographics that it's like a disposable water bottle or a plastic water bottle takes 500 years to decompose or go away. And those are super misleading, because plastic doesn't go away. Like, when I see that, I think of like an apple core or banana peel in a compost bin, and it goes back into the earth. But plastic doesn't go back into the earth. It breaks, instead of breaking down, it breaks apart into smaller and smaller and smaller pieces. So these are the microplastics, nanoplastics that we're finding in everywhere.
Yeah, like animals that are, you know, in the ocean, and you know, they're consuming plastics on a daily basis.
In humans, it's showing up in our blood. It's showing up literally everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, it also makes me think of, you know, communities where there aren't really access to clean water sources, for instance. And so if, you know, there's a plastic piece of trash on the ground and the water system is kind of running through that trash, at some point, you know, that water is going to enter into a person's body because they're drinking it from the faucet, or they're using it to make their food and boil water or whatever. And, you know, and it's interesting too, because this is, I mean, waste is a huge issue in the camp where we work too. And in Juddish camp, it's interesting because, first of all, there are a lot of homegrown initiatives to reduce waste in the street. there was several community members at one point, and I'm sure that it's still going on to a degree, where they had trash cans put out in the streets around the camp because there were no trash cans available.
Right.
There were just these big dumpster bins, essentially, that were kind of like every few blocks you would see a dumpster.
Mhm.
And the problem with the dumpsters is like no one's necessarily going to want to walk like a few blocks to go throw away their trash. They're just going to like drop it. Right,
sure.
exactly. Like literally dropping it as you're walking. And we see this all the time anywhere too. I mean, in the streets here in the States, and you have like people will open their window in the car and just like you see a little piece of trash like fly out the window. And I'm like, what was that? What just happened here?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, how lazy are you that you can't hold that in your car? Like, just put it beside you when you get out at home or work, wherever you're going, just take it with you.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's it's interesting too, because people complain about the fact that they're experiencing a lot of health issues with the environment and so forth, and we need access to clean water. Well, and I think a lot of it's obviously not that individual person's fault that their water isn't clean, but we all play a role, right? And we all have a certain role to play in the impact on the environment that we're living in. And yeah, I mean, in going back to what we were saying about our team and like our community in Jeddah, it's really interesting because what we've noticed, outside of the fact that there's a lot of these like homegrown initiatives to reduce waste, it also is a tradition in the home in a lot of ways to like use as much of something as possible.
Absolutely.
Right. And I think we see this a lot with, I don't know about you, but like my family, they were immigrants from Italy over to the United States, and they didn't have a lot of money. And so they would use something. I mean, my grandmother used something until it was disintegrating in her hand. Yeah. And so, for like some of our team members, I mean, we'll notice that, for instance, in the home, they'll always reuse, like, I mean, there are these bottles of juice that you can get at the grocery store. Now they're plastic, but they buy these bottles of juice, and they always reuse the juice bottle, and they use it to store olive oil in their kitchen. And so they'll take that bottle and it'll sit on their countertop, as opposed, because then at the grocery, right, you buy these big jugs of olive oil. And that's actually what we use in our workshop. There are these giant tins, and people essentially like take those tins and refill them every year. They never actually like make new ones. But I'm curious to hear from you, like what is one of the wilder, like more unusual things you've done to reduce waste, or to like try and go zero waste? Because I've heard a lot of different things out there, and some people are like, that's gross. And I'm like, well, if it works, then
I feel like I've just done it so thoroughly through all of my life. Like using menstrual cups and reusable menstrual products. Like, I feel like that's something that has been taboo for a while. But I feel like slowly those barriers are breaking down. So like using like period underwear or period, like reusable panty liners, all of those stuff.
I actually, a couple years ago, a friend of mine got me into the period underwear. I forget the brand name, but it was so, first of all, I like, at the first thought of it, I was like, oh, I can't do that. Like, no way. But they worked really well. She was like, just try it. You can always like have a tampon with you, or have like a pad with you just in case. And so I tried it, and I was like, this is kind of amazing. I don't need to spend it. Also, you don't need to spend like $12 on a pack of tampons at the grocery store if you have like the menstrual cup or the underwear.
And now even like the thought of like putting like a tampon or cup, I've just been using the underwear for so many years now. I'm like, I just want to bleed into my underwear.
I really, I really want to actually, I haven't tried the menstrual cups yet, but I'm really like, I'm kind of like, okay, I've got to just do it. I got to just try it.
Totally. Yeah, they're great. I went from like tampons to the cup, and I started using a cup in like 2014 or 13.
Yeah.
And then like 3 years ago or 2 years ago, started using period underwear.
Okay.
And I feel like I go through stages where I'm like, yeah, I'll use a cup instead of the underwear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and also, I mean, there's been a lot of interesting progress with not just menstrual cups for us here in North America and kind of the progression towards that, but it's also revealed access. It's provided more access to period care for and like menstrual care for women in places where it's not that easy to get tampons, or it's not that easy to just spend like $8 or $10 on a pack of pads.
Totally.
And I can also imagine like within pads there's got to be some sort of like synthetic material that's going into landfills at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is all single-use stuff. It's not healthy for you, and especially like yeah. So using the reusable products is amazing if it's accessible, affordable to you.
Right.
Because it is a higher upfront cost.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Now, and I think this is also, again, as we mentioned earlier, this is the caveat is, right? Like if you are able to make this change, and if you're able to make this switch, and there are some people out there who, for instance, they need to use single-use things because they might have a disability, and like they're using certain healthcare products that they just can't like, rewash and reuse.
100%.
And so, I think going back to what you said earlier is like, take the time to just do that audit and say, okay, this is something I can afford to change out. This is something I can't afford to change out. And at least like changing out what you can afford to do. So, now you have a zero waste store, right? Like the Tare shop is zero waste. You guys reuse everything that comes in your doors, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah. So I have like tried to start moving away from the zero waste word, because like in reality, like nothing is zero waste. So we have garbage, we have recycling, we have compost that we put out. In any system, there's going to be waste. So I like to say like we're a package-free store. Like the customers buy their stuff package-free. When we get products in, for any of the local suppliers we work with, we like swap reusable containers back and forth. For stuff that like gets shipped to us, sometimes it's in reusable like buckets, sometimes it's in paper bags that can be recycled, sometimes it's in plastic bags, and we always try to reuse the plastic bags for putting out our garbage and recycling. So we do try to reuse and get crafty and thrifty with everything that comes into the store. But yeah, we are not zero waste. And one of the things that we do is we do a waste audit as well. So we weigh all of our garbage, all of our recycling, the cardboard, the compost, anything that goes out, we weigh so that we know what impact that we are having, as well as tracking the waste that we divert from entering the waste stream.
Oh, interesting. And how do you do that? You just like put it on a scale, or?
Exactly. Yeah. We just weigh the garbage bag before putting it out.
Yeah.
For example.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how is that now from year to year? Have you guys been able to like reduce your waste based on keeping that audit, or what? How do you go about using those numbers?
Yeah, so like looking at the numbers, noticing trends, like is that like, for example, around COVID, there was way less recycling because we closed our cafe, so we weren't throwing out milk jugs anymore, for example. So just like looking at the trends and seeing like what's happening in the store that could have made that trend happen, whether it's up or down. So yeah, just like looking at it regularly, being like super aware. There's also on our waste audit a place for notes, so the managers, when they're inputting all the data, can add any notes for like why something was like higher or lower that month.
Yeah, that's an interesting, I mean, I'm sure a lot of businesses could do this too, right?
Totally. Yeah.
It's something that is, it adds a few more minutes to your day, but ultimately being aware of how much you're throwing out is kind of that first step
Mhm.
to reducing it, right? Um, and I think, you know, we do this all the time with so many other aspects of our life. Like people want to go on, you know, these crazy diets and they just like, they're like, all right, keep a food journal, you know? It's like, well, keep a waste journal, you
Totally.
know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Um, so I wanted to ask you, you know, just kind of wrapping things up here too. You know, we often think of the things that we can avoid throwing out and all of that stuff. What are also some things, you know, again, being mindful of not adding too much to what we have, but what are some tools that you've used in the past or that like kind of have helped you get to the point where you're using less waste, but like the tool itself has really added to that capability?
Mm. I think just like, yeah, being like really aware, and also not like using up everything. Like if you have a plastic shampoo bottle, like use all of the shampoo,
Mm,
refill it if you can. But so using everything until it's like no longer reusable is going to be the most sustainable. It's way less wasteful than like going into your bathroom and like throwing everything out that's in plastic.
mm,
Obviously that is wasteful. So it's
yeah.
going to save you money to use up everything that you have, being really like strategic and smart. And it does take a little bit of research and a little bit of time, but for like our consumers, like they know that we do the research before time so that they can come here and we alleviate some of that research that the customer has to do,
Mm,
just by being thoughtful and mindful about what we bring in. Um, so yeah, like using up everything that you have, using it until it's no longer usable. Like for example, if once you're done your plastic toothbrush, like use that to like clean your tiles or like clean your shoes. Like you can reuse stuff over and over and over again before it does have to go to the landfill or compost or
yeah.
recycling.
Yeah, I think like also one thing we love to do is use the glass jars, right? So like if
Mm-hmm,
you have
mm-hmm.
a jar of tomato sauce, for instance, and you know you use that up, you can use it to refill it with like, I mean, obviously wash it out first, but like put
Exactly.
beans in it or you know dried goods. And I know that you have a interesting, and it's easy to get kind of lost in your Instagram because you have these Instagram videos of you refilling the honey jars, which I'm just
My
like,
favorite thing to do.
it's a bit, it's, you know, I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with ASMR, which is like the
Yeah,
sound, but it's kind of
totally.
like
A
visual
visual
ASMR.
ASMR.
It's like watching
Yeah,
this honey like drip into the jar.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you can refill, like with us, you can refill any kind of container, like glass, plastic, old takeout containers, like really anything, plastic bags, we don't care. Um, yeah, we just love seeing all of the containers that people refill. I
That's
think one of the
amazing.
most interesting ones, somebody brought in a salad bowl to refill
Oh
product. I
my
think they
gosh.
were just like cooking and needed something and just like ran over with a salad bowl. Or even like a measuring cup. A neighbor across the street came with a measuring cup once and just bought exactly the 2 cups or whatever of product that they needed.
It's the
Um,
quintessential like neighbor coming over for a cup
yeah,
of sugar.
exactly. Exactly. You
Yeah.
can be your neighbor. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
amazing. Yeah,
yeah.
you know, it's interesting in Jordan what they'll do, and I've noticed this. I'll be like sitting in there's this little falafel place in this town in Jordan where I used to live, and I would sit down and I would be eating a falafel sandwich or whatever, and like little kids would run in. This was especially on Fridays. It was interesting because like Friday was, you know, it's kind of their day of prayer. People go to the mosque.
Hmm.
But then right afterwards, they have usually a nice meal with family. And little kids would like run into the store with these bowls, you know, it's just like a dish.
Right.
And the guy would behind the counter would scoop the hummus into the bowl and you know he makes it really beautiful and puts like some garnish on it and hands it back to him. And I mean there you go,
That's beautiful. I
that's your,
love
and
it.
it was, it really
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is beautiful. Yeah, it's like your
yeah.
reusable container container-free store.
Yeah, I feel like we have just become such a like are just like so addicted to consuming without thought, and you just like consume something and throw it away, and yeah, we're like not mindful, and we're always rushing. We don't take the time to slow down. Our Both of our stores have a coffee shop, and like pre-COVID, we had obviously we have no disposable cups in our coffee shop because we're a package-free store. So people would come in, ask for coffee. We'd say we don't have any like to-go mugs. You can like reuse this jar for a cup of coffee if you wanted to take it to go. Like just like see people like startled for a second because it's so different and weird. And then they like look at their watch and they'd be like, oh, I have like 5 minutes. I can like sit down. And it was really cool to see people like slow down for a second and enjoy their coffee and then move on with their lives.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, it's really easy. I think that's where a lot of waste comes from, right? It's like people don't think about, they think they don't have time, right?
Yeah.
They think they don't have time to just walk over to the garbage can and throw it out, or they don't have time to like wash out their cup that they were using before.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What's the I think the alternative is the scary thing, right? And it's hard for us to visualize it. I think that's we don't really visualize what it's like when garbage is going to start consuming our world. We just don't have those examples. And, it's not, for instance, when here in the States and in Flint, Michigan, when the water was so bad, people were getting sick from, drinking it. Even in that situation, unless you were living in that town, it's kind of it feels like this invisible thing, this invisible fear. And so, wondering, how do we make this more obvious to people, like the risk that you're taking with, using that extra cup or that extra, plastic spoon or whatever. It's I think it's a real challenge we're still trying to figure out.
Yeah. Even like an easy habit to do if you're ordering takeout to go eat it at your house. Presumably you have cutlery at your house. So making it a habit of when you're placing your takeout order saying, no cutlery, please.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Just like that one simple thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so Kate, tell us where everyone can find the Tare shop, because you're not just in Canada, right?
Yeah, we ship worldwide. So for all of the packages that we ship out, we reuse all of the boxes that come in. So we're not buying new material to ship out our products. So yeah, it's totally plastic-free shipping. We use paper tape to seal the products, or seal the packages rather. So yeah, we ship worldwide, thetareshop.com, and we're on all of the social media platforms at the Tare Shop.
Yeah, and you can watch Kate refill
containers.
Refill honey. And so when someone orders something from the Tare Shop too, I'm curious, because you're package free, container free, but some items have to be in, like, they have to be in a certain pack. Like, for instance,
if you order oats, you're not just going to put oats in a
right. You're not just going to I mean, some people might be thinking right now, is she just going to like pour the oats into the box, or how does this work?
Yeah. So if you're ordering bulk products from us online or grocery items, it will go into a paper bag.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
But we have like toothbrushes and period care products and candles and soaps and so many other things that are wonderful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this today.
Great. Yeah.
We really enjoyed it. And so you're at the Tare Shop, and that's Tare, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think also what we'll do probably is have some more of this information on our blog, and people will be able to visit the website. So thank you so much, Kate.
Yeah,
and
thank you so much, Jackie.
We also have a giveaway that just happened, by the way, which is no longer open, but the Tare Shop did participate, and it was super fun. And so you'll be running a sustainability workshop for that, with the winner, which is super cool. So if anybody wants to figure out or schedule some sort of a sustainability workshops with Kate,
we do them.
Yeah, get in touch.
Get in touch.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All
yeah,
right.
thanks, Becky. See you later.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.